Late in 1934, I somewhat reluctantly started again as a psychotherapist to my former patient, the diminutive corporal, who was now the Führer of Germany. A man who had been responsible earlier in the year for the brutal murder of perhaps hundreds of his perceived enemies and political rivals in the infamous event known as the Night of the Long Knives. I was now playing Daniel to his Nebuchadnezzar. Listening as he recounted his dreams and I delved into his psyche, he was particularly concerned with providence, ancient mythology, destiny, and fate. But in our early sessions, I sought to hear more of his developing years. He was unwilling to come to my own consulting rooms, but I did manage to persuade him that our therapy discussion should be in a more secluded, intimate, and dedicated setting than in his chancellery office. Somewhere more conducive to uninterrupted relaxation. As our former patient-therapist bond rekindled, he became more willing to accept my questions, though in truth I was more interested in the attitudes induced by them than in his actual spoken words. His reactions were sometimes violent outbursts, sometimes secretive and evasive. I knew how many people he'd killed who displeased him. I knew that demanding ICs as his therapist would displease him. Our sessions were a tightrope walk on a razor wire. You remember once, years ago, Adolf, you told me of an unhappy time in your childhood.
Yeah, about my father's ducks.
That's it, but do you recall any more happy times while you were a child growing up?
No, except when my brother Edmund was alive, we were happy together. He was younger than I, but he caught measles and died in 1900. He was only 6. I was 10.
That would have made you very sad. So what happened after that?
I used to go and sit on the cemetery wall and look at the stars and to try and see Edmund again. Do you believe we all have our own star in the sky, Doctor?
Well, there are many ancient myths and legends about the stars, so anything might be possible.
After my brother died, I had a bad time. We used to protect and comfort each other from our father's anger. And after Edmund died, my father was worse with me and I stopped being so good at school.
That would have made your father even more angry.
Yeah, the only thing I enjoyed studying was history and art. I wanted to become an artist. My father tried to beat that idea out of me, but the harder he tried, the more resilient I became. He wanted me to become a civil servant.
Did your mother approve of your interest in art?
And music. I was in the church choir. She was quiet and loving, but could never stand opposed to him, her husband. I loved her. She was loving to me. But my father was unlovable. I was glad when he died suddenly in 1903.
When you were 14.
I was still 13.
You didn't love your father then?
He was a brute. He never loved anybody. Nobody ever loved him. Then there was only my sister Paula and me. But she was very young, only 6, so my mother and I were very close.
Here I added to my notes, Oedipus triumphant.
She had only my father's pension, so she had to sell up and we had to move to a smaller residence.
Times were hard then.
Not so bad. The 3 of us were happier without him. My father had 2 other children, Alois and Angela, but they were much older, and though they lived with us when our father was alive, they did not come with us after he died.
You're being very forthcoming, Adolf, and that's good. Now, how did life go after your father died?
Good, at first. Mother let me change schools, but after a while I left and went to Vienna to study art. And then mother got sick and I had to return home to look after her.
You must have been disappointed at having to interrupt your studies.
She had found a lump,
In one of her breasts?
Yeah, cancer. And the damn doctor instructed me to tell her she needed surgery. I was 17. Paula was too young to know anything.
And how did that go?
That was awful. She had wounds, terrible stinking wounds that never healed. I got a local woman to come in and help me with them. She had awful pain.
How distressing for her. And for her children, you and Paula.
That bastard doctor said he could do nothing further. He stopped coming. We couldn't pay him.
He still should have offered your mother medication.
He left a small bottle of tincture of opium. I wanted to put her out of her misery. For an animal, you would have shot it or poisoned it. But I didn't.
Do you regret that?
My mother was suffering. She deserved release.
Indeed, she did.
But she had to linger for a year until she died in 1907, just before Christmas. That was our Christmas present that year, Paula and me.
The loss of your mother must have been very hard to bear.
Yes and no. For the reasons I told you. Her widow's pension was allocated to us, but I signed my share to Paula and went to Vienna. She spent the rest of her childhood with some relative or the other. I had no interest in any of them, except Paula, but I couldn't keep her with me.
And how did you fare in Vienna?
After mother's death, I grieved for a long time. I was destitute and homeless. I tried to get into the Fine Arts Institute, but they rejected me twice. They suggested I try for architecture, but they failed me too because I hadn't finished maths at school.
And after that?
I lived frugally and became vegetarian. I couldn't afford meat. And then I went off it. I lived in shelters, tried to sell my drawings to tourists as postcards. I spent a lot of time at the library. It was warm in the winter. And I enjoyed reading European and military history. Whenever I had a couple of shillings, I'd buy chocolate and cakes.
A special treat in your distress.
I can live on chocolate and pastries. My favorite food. Those and eggs.
Did all your studying in the library help you?
Yes. I came to despise the remnants of Austria-Hungarianism and the Habsburgs. Germany was my true destiny. I began to see that and to follow that dream. Austria was a bastardized society, impure.
How old were you by then?
In my early 20s.
Around 1912?
Yeah. That same year, they wanted to conscript me into the Austro-Hungarian army, but fortunately, I managed to fail their medical board. They said I was too small in height and physique.
If only they could measure his ego. He didn't want to be in the army. The food would have been regular.
Not that army, and not their kind of food. I moved then to Munich to get out of Austria and follow my German destiny.
And then came 1914.
Yes, the glorious 2nd of August, when Germany mobilized for war. Enough. I have much to do. We stop for today, Doctor.
As he rose, he glanced at me with a twinkle in his eye.
You remember you once told me you had difficulties with women?
Yes.
Are you still unmarried? Not in a serious relationship?
My relationship with Tilde flourished when she was based in Berlin. We would go to other concerts when she was free and visit each other at home.
You hesitate.
My work keeps me busy. If I do have free time, I like to go to concerts.
Alone?
Invariably.
Do you have a favorite orchestra here in Berlin?
Oh, there are several. They're all good.
The Berlin Philharmonic, perhaps?
How could he know? How could he possibly know? Until our next then, auf Wiedersehen, mein Führer. I shuddered at the thought of how he had acquired this information.
Until next time, Doctor. Thank you.
You forgot to castle your king. Is everything all right?
Oh, it's nothing really. It's just that I get this feeling I'm being watched.
It's difficult in Berlin these days. There are eyes everywhere. We all feel it. But we're going to that fundraising concert tomorrow. It's a concert house, remember? That should brighten your spirit.
Oh, you're right, my darling. I'm just getting too stressed with one of my patients.
The stress should be his problem, not yours.
You assume it's a he.
Well, isn't it?
Well, as a matter of fact, it is.
Good. I shouldn't like you to be getting so upset over another woman, even if she was a patient.
I'm glad to hear you say that. We finished last time, Adolf, as Germany mobilized for war.
Ah, the glorious 2nd of August, 1914.
Yes. So then you did get into the Bavarian regiment.
Yeah, I managed to get classified as German. I was an exemplary soldier, twice decorated. But enough for that for a moment.
Why is that?
You failed to answer my question to you last time.
And what was that?
Concerning your female relationships.
I explained how my workload precluded...
Come now. Doctor, I understand you have overcome your fear and avoidance of female companionship. Huh? Isn't that the truth?
And how would you know that?
One would think you'd be proud. Not just any woman, but the beautiful violinist, Fräulein Mathilde Mannleifen.
Yes, I am proud.
And I suppose you would like to continue seeing her?
I would.
Good. I think you should.
He let that hang in the air, delighting in the implication that the choices of my personal life required his approval. Delighting more, perhaps, at how flustered he'd made me.
So, to continue, Doctor.
Yes, after your leg injury at Somme, and then your second injury when you were temporarily blinded at Ypres in 1918.
That was not an injury. It was a divine sign of my being chosen by Providence. Just before the traitorous betrayal of the armistice by the Jews and the communists.
So then you stayed on in the army.
I was promoted as an intelligence officer to work with the German Workers' Party.
And that's how you entered politics?
Of course. They recognized my oratorical skills and my leadership qualities.
But you were just a corporal during the war.
You say just. But those imbeciles in charge had not the wits to perceive my supreme abilities. But I showed them. I'm still showing them. I shall continue to do so until they all understand.
Quite so, Adolf.
You are skeptical.
I'm prepared to hear you tell me about it as we go forward in our sessions.
What an honor. You forget yourself, Doctor. Perhaps you are distracted today.
Let's continue. Let's continue. You enjoyed your time in the army.
Ah, they were good years. The German spirit was alive and strong among the men until we were betrayed. The soldiers and the people were angry. What was needed then and now is for Germany to rise again, to throw off the shame and disaster of the Treaty of Versailles. Regain our nation's strength, cleanse it, and rid ourselves of the dross in our midst. Expand our territory to give us room to grow pure and strong. We need Lebensraum.
So your association with the Workers' Party was the beginning of your political interest?
It was the start, but they were a disorganized bunch. They lacked a true leader. But they could recognize one. So once I began to influence them and organize our protection...
Your brown shirts, the SA.
We had to keep order. and dissuade subversive elements. But then I came up against serious opposition within the organization.
And what did you do?
What only a man of my stature and intelligence would do. I resigned and walked away, but I had my spies to keep me informed.
So what happened?
And the fools were in such disarray that when I reappeared, they agreed implicitly to my terms, made me chairman throughout the opposition. And then I turned that small group, the German Workers' Party, into the National Socialist German Workers' Party, NASDAP.
That became the Nazi Party.
And then in 1923, we failed in an attempted armed coup d'etat. They put me in jail, I told you about it, years ago when we met in Munich.
Oh, yeah, where you wrote Mein Kampf.
Once released, I was able to get back to my NASDAP work. We started to run in elections. Our gains were small to start with, but then came the depression, the economy collapsed, unemployment rose, hyperinflation, our numbers soared. We gained the support of businessmen, the middle class, and the farmers, who were all terrified of the communists, whose support came from the unemployed industrial workers. By 1932, we were the major party. In January that year, President Hindenburg appointed me Chancellor, head of the government. Then, 4 weeks later, our opposition, the communists, set fire to the Reichstag building.
Are you sure it was the communists?
Of course it was them. Who else could it have been?
I was calm, at least outwardly, yet he was threatened by a simple question. For all his power, he was still a little man.
But it was to our advantage because it allowed for stronger controlling measures to be enacted immediately. The president made the Reichstag fire decree under which all civil liberties were curtailed. We were able to arrest and intern members of the Communist Party. Then came the Enabling Act, and that gave me, as Chancellor, total control of legislation without reference to the Reichstag or the president.
In effect, Germany was now heading toward a dictatorship with Hitler as dictator and the president a mere puppet. What that made me, I didn't know. A trifle of the king to be discarded at his leisure.
The Reichstag ceased to be able to provide any opposition to the Nazi Party, and as a one-party state, and with the aid of my public promotion officer, Joseph Goebbels, the German people could be aligned into one great force, all moving in the same direction under my leadership. All I had to do then was to eliminate the subversive elements and traitors within my own party and those among the party troopers.
The SA.
My own guard, the SS, were given orders to do away with the list of my opponents.
Die Nacht der langen Messer.
The night of the long knives. Dead men cannot trouble me.
A brutal and unlawful act. What a monster this small man had become. How did that make you feel?
Cleansed.
Did you think it was right?
Right? It was necessary.
And what was the general reaction?
Well, fortunately, Hindenburg died within a month, and that saved me a lot of time and trouble. I abolished the office of president and declared myself Führer, the supreme leader of Germany. No one was then in a position to challenge my authority.
You were more and more fortunate.
No. Do you still not understand? It's my destiny. It is preordained.
Megalomania is a mental illness that causes a person to think they have great power and importance. In his case, he had always thought that, and now the world had aligned with his beliefs. Imagine a schizophrenic who has delusions and hallucinations of a giant bird. And then a giant bird appears in reality. What would he do next?
Following year, 1935, at our glorious Nuremberg rally, I proclaimed the Nuremberg laws. The laws that now define those entitled to German citizenship by purity of race.
He was a child with a grenade, and he had pulled the pin. My romance with Tilda flourished. while each of us pursued our professional careers. Then came a time when the Berlin Philharmonic Orchestra went on a tour, and one of the stops of their itinerary was my old home city of Stockholm. And that provided a perfect opportunity for my parents to meet my sweetheart. So I traveled back to Sweden for a few days. The concert was a resounding success, and the visit to my family home, not as much.
I loved meeting your family, Olaf. It was the highlight of the whole tour. But your mother doesn't seem to approve of me. Check.
My grandmother would have been worse. She barely accepted my mother's position in the house.
I do love you, Olaf. Check again.
You saw how Mother froze when you offered my grandfather your condolences. She figured you had no place in doing such a thing on a first meeting. So old-fashioned.
Yes, and she practically had a stroke when I wanted to go fishing with her men.
There you have it. Oedipus and his mother. Checkmate.
Oh.
I despair to find topics that would not endanger my life as I continue to treat my singular patient. Most men enjoy the company of women. It seemed unlikely to be perceived as a threat by him. Adolf, let's explore something else. You're not married, are you?
A man of my status, my stature, cannot afford to be married. Think of the position that would put me in. Just one woman beside me, when all of the femininity of Germany longs to be in my embrace and mine alone. No, I'm unmarried.
Have you never been close to one woman?
Besides my mother.
Yes.
I prefer them to be young and naive, not too serious.
Like your sister Paula, perhaps.
I was uncle and guardian to my 17-year-old half-niece, Gerry Raubel. She stayed with me for a few years until the crazy girl shot herself in 1931 when she was 23.
How did that affect you?
I was disappointed. We were very close. I kept her out of trouble. She shot herself with my pistol. I even considered doing the same thing myself. I was so distressed.
You say you kept her out of trouble. In what respect was that?
So she did not have to encounter men and their sordid ways.
So your relationship was platonic then?
Are you not aware of Schörner's doctrine? That the man should remain celibate until 25 and abstain from meat and alcohol?
No, I have not heard that.
I have proposed to carry that directive further in my life.
So Schörner has been instrumental in your social and political evolution, would you say?
He impressed me greatly in my student days.
Following the tragic loss of your half-niece Gailey, you remained without female association?
Apart from my photographic assistant and then secretary, Eva Braun, I met her in 1929. She was a 17-year-old assistant to photographer Heinrich Hoffmann. Like the other one, she was young and naive. And after Gailey's suicide, I saw more of Eva, and she's now my personal secretary. But she remains in the background. She has nothing to add to Nazi business meetings.
She's a loyal associate.
I believe so. The silly goose also tried to commit suicide a couple of years ago. Can you believe it? She shot herself unsuccessfully in the chest with her father's pistol. It was done purely to get me to take a more serious interest in her. She tried again with pills in 1935 for the same reason.
She's obviously more keen on a deeper relationship than you are.
As I have told you already, I cannot conceive of any such relationship, not in my position as Führer. My brain is not within my breeches. You talk much of women, Doctor. Perhaps all that time with the Fraulein Mannleifen has begun to corrode your brain. Perhaps you spend too much time with her.
Are you teasing me?
Am I?
Do I require your permission to see her?
Are you asking for it?
This is your session, not mine. I felt myself shake a bit, and shame flushed through my body at my fear. One afternoon in 1938, as social conditions in Germany continued to deteriorate rapidly, I received a visitor. I'm not seeing new patients, sir.
Well, I'm not seeing two women at the same time, but don't tell either of them about it.
With his handsome Italian features of dark complexions, perfectly sculptured, strong Roman nose and chin, and a rich thatch of shiny black hair, the man looked more like a movie star than my average patient, and certainly not German.
Relax, Doc. Let me tell you who I am and what I want. I wish to discuss certain things with you that do not relate to my psychological well-being.
All right, go on.
I'm American, obviously, but we're working in tandem with a branch of British intelligence who, it turns out, are well aware of the developing situation here, under Nazi party rule, and who know of your work from their pal, Professor Freud, who now lives in exile in London.
Is that a fact?
Sure is.
It's true the situation here gets worse day by day, and because I'm Swedish, I have no reservations about continuing this consultation. Please, go on.
Perfect. We're aware that you treat a certain patient in whom we have a keen interest.
I'm not saying I do.
You don't need to.
Then,
We'd like you to prepare a psychological profile for us, so we can develop counterintuitive measures in the event his wild actions lead to a declaration of war, as seems to be the most likely outcome. In plain English, Doc, the Americans and the Brits want to know how we can beat him. And you probably know him as well as anyone.
I'm not sure how professionally legal it would be for me to...
Believe me, Buster, the longer Crazy Horse is at large, the worse for everyone. He'll kill you eventually, like he does everyone else who hangs around him too long. You know that, unless you do something about it. We can set up another consultation in a few days to chew over your report.
I haven't said yes.
You haven't said no, either.
To know your enemy, one must delve into his psyche. Professor Freud taught me that. I knew the choice I was making. This could only end with one of us dead.
The Hitler File is a production of Voyage Media. The series is produced by Nat Mundell, Robert Midas, and Dan Benamor. Directed and produced by Dan Benamor. Written by Desmond Fosbury. Based on the novel The Dromyrk File by Brandon Rolfe. Starring Peter Stormare as Dr. Dromyrk and Dennis O'Hare as Adolf Hitler. Additional cast credits available in the show notes. Edited, sound designed, and mixed by Nick Misiti. Original music by Derlis Gonzalez. If you're enjoying the show, please leave us a 5-star review in Apple Podcasts or anywhere you're listening, and subscribe now for future episodes.